in Canada. Professor Eamon.
Manik ji, how are you?
How are you now?
Pranab, you have a Facebook account or not?
No, I don't have a Facebook account in Amda.
Okay, because if you have a Facebook account, then you need to stream it on Facebook. I have arranged it for streaming it on live on YouTube.
Anu will have. You should ask Anu when she joins. Or Nisha, they will have.
প্রণাম দাদা।
নমস্তে নমস্তে।
কেমন আছে?
আমি ভালো আছি স্যার, আপনি কেমন আছেন?
আমি তো ভালো।
It's so nice to
Manik
see you.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Professor Murthy,
how are you?
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you, sir?
Fine, so nice.
यो भिडियो बन्द भयो। अब ठीक छ। अब म म्युट गर्छु के।
राम्रो छ मानिक जी।
राम्रो छ सर, राम्रो छ। Good to see everyone.
This is finally brought Manik into the picture, right? Nice to see you. Nice to see you. And also Raj. Namaste. Yes. How are you? Doing fine?
Good. Yes.
Yes.
ठीक छ। अनि
How are you?
हल्के पढाइदियो?
Yes, I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. I think.
अनि के यसरी राख्ने?
Unmute. I only did it. Good evening, Manik, Nepal.
Good.
Hi, Manik. How are you?
Good morning.
Good evening. Good evening.
It's morning here
In Canada.
Yeah, it's 9 o'clock.
Wow.
This is a funny time in Goa.
Yeah. You're taking me away from my essential survival, requirements right now.
How are you, Pranab?
I'm good, sir. I'm good. We have.
Are you in Goa or are you traveling? Oh no, right now no traveling, right?
In this season, there is no travel, boss.
Yeah, no traveling. I know. Everything is closed here too.
Yeah.
Manik ji, how are you?
I'm good. Mani ji, कस्तो हुनुहुन्छ?
ठिक छ, धेरै पछि तपाईलाई देख्न पाएँ स्क्रिनमा भए पनि।
म एकचोटि दुईचोटि काठमाडौँ आउँदाखेरि तपाई उता ब्याङ्ककतिर हुनुहुन्थ्यो स्यान्डीको प्रोग्राममा।
लास्ट इयर आउनु भएको थियो?
लास्ट इयर आएको थिएँ म। लास्ट इयर त म कहीँ पनि गइनँ, मेरो माइलो दाइ बित्नु भयो के। अनि उता विराटनगरमा थिएँ धेरै, मोस्ट लाइक हैन, धेरै टाइमको लागि। अनि फेरि यहीँ फर्केर आएँ सिधै, कतै गइनँ लास्ट टाइम। तर त्यो भन्दा पहिले साल आउँदाखेरि तपाईहरु चाहिँ उता ब्याङ्ककमा हो कि कता हुनुहुन्थ्यो के अरे, कि श्रीलङ्कामा थियो, यस्तै के थियो?
होला।
अरु सब ठीक छ?
ठीक छ, एकदम ठीक छ।
लकडाउन त एकदम गजब छ।
लकडाउन लम्बिरहेछ, फेरि चाहिँ थप्ला जस्तो छ। किनभने केसेसहरु चाहिँ एकदम बढिरहेछ कि अहिले नेपालमा।
ओहो
पहिलाको भन्दा।
अरे कस्तो महाप्रकोप आएको यार, सबैलाई बर्बाद गरिदियो।
Hey, Anu. Good evening.
Madesh, how are you?
I'm fine, Manik. I'm very glad to see all of you.
Yeah, me too, me too. I'm so glad to see everybody too.
Hey, my dear sister Anu, how are you?
I don't see Anu.
She's
Yeah.
there. Yeah, she's
Yeah,
there.
but her
Yeah.
mic is mute.
Sir,
No, she,
there is a Sai Baba behind her. Yes.
Pause. Is it okay now?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
she was muted, sir.
perfect now.
How are you, Anu?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you, Madesh? Congratulations.
I'm
for
fine.
taking
Thank you.
over Isaac.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Manikji, Isaac ko boss bare. So he's taken over.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
okay. Congratulations from my side also.
Anu, how do I see everybody? I only see one person at a time.
You
Yeah,
cannot
I
see.
can see everybody.
On top of it, there is a small stripe where you can see many people.
Yeah. Top.
There is a button which is called gallery view, or there is a speaker view. So if you click on the speaker view, it will switch toggle between the lines. So just click to once and then it will change.
Stop video.
Onu, you have a Facebook account. You want to telecast it live?
How can I do that?
Okay, I can give you.
Maniji also has a Facebook account.
Okay, I can give Maniji. I am doing it on YouTube, so it will be on YouTube live. Okay.
Okay.
program.
So
Okay.
just tell me what to do in Anda and I'll do it.
Maniji, bhayena?
Bhayana,
I'm giving you the to become the co-host, Mani and Pranab. In case you never know the system, internet failure, power failure, you can take over. So that was, so you are also a co-host. Pranab is also a co-host. Okay. And
no, I don't want to disconnect completely. But I can't.
Log in garnu and disconnect garnu. It'll be okay, I think.
Oh? Okay, so
they'll ask you question, you just त्यो questions मा के त्यहाँ सबै हेर्न मिल्ने भन्ने क्वेशन छ कि मेरो त सिधै भयो.
We have 10 minutes, I guess.
Yeah.
Nizwan has entered. So people. Home has come. Zakir has come. How are you, Zakir?
Oh, okay.
You have to unmute yourself if you want to speak. On the bottom left, you will see a mute and unmute button, which is a microphone.
Okay. Yes, sir.
यतापट्टि मानिजी हेर्नु त त्यहाँ अनम्युट गर्नु त.
Hello.
Red button.
Good night, everyone.
Hi, Zakir. How are you?
hi. Hi,
After
Som.
a long time. Hi. Hi, Manika.
Hi, Zakir.
Hello, Professor Murthy.
Murthy, how are you?
Bye,
After
Maniji.
a long time.
Hi, के हाल छ?
Okay, it's good.
Zakir. After a long time. Is Madesh?
Hi, Som.
Hi. Jackie speaking.
I have to get my headphones.
Hi, Pranab.
Hey. Zakir, কেমন আছো?
Pranab,
আছি ভালো।
Pranab, no Bengali, please.
Hey, Sarah.
I'm
after a
done
long
with my
time.
Nepali quota, so I'm saying no Bengali to you, you know. I'm done with my Nepali quota, so.
Right.
So,
Hey.
Happy
Hi,
to
Sarah.
see
Good evening.
Professor.
Good morning.
मानिजी तपाईको स्टिल त्यहाँ म्युट छ अनम्युट गर्नु न
Hi, can you hear me now?
Manikji आउँदैन कसरी
Yes, we can hear you.
Manik, we can hear you.
Zakir, you have to unmute yourself also.
Okay.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Sarah.
Hello, Sarah.
Good.
Hello, Manny.
Vimdai,
Hi,
hi.
Sarah.
Hey, Anuradji, how are you?
I'm good. तपाईँ के छ?
TikTok, एकदमै TikTok.
Hey, team.
Hello,
चिन्छ
Greetings from God.
Pranav.
I think
How are you?
Som is also unmute. Som,
Very
hi,
good, very
Som.
good.
Everyone, hi.
Benji, morning.
Morning. Good
Morning.
afternoon. Or
Hi,
good
Sean.
evening, actually. Good night.
after seeing long time.
I think many of you have
After a long
unmuted,
time.
okay, but when you have to speak, then we can.
Shadamini.
Hey,
I think
Salamini.
unmute is better when you're not
Shadamini.
speaking.
Is she unmute? No.
Salamini is unmuted, but I see Indira ji also.
Indira ji.
Yeah.
Hello.
Shadamini, how are you? Cannot hear. Cannot hear. You.
Who is this? Hello.
Yeah. Yeah, right now. You can hear.
Sarah. Oh. And who is this?
Yeah.
Saudamani. Saudamani looks very different with her hair very long.
Yeah. She,
Hi, Saudamini.
Hi, Sarah. It's
Can you
so
hear-
nice to see you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. This is Som.
Yes, I can.
Hi, Shom. How are you?
How are you, Mani?
Good, good.
Manny has disappeared. Where is Manny?
I'm
Mani's
here.
there.
Yeah, he's here, Sarah.
Tom, how are you?
Someone is trying to connect.
This is
There is Pushpan.
Yes, Pushpam ji.
Yeah, I think it's
the United Nations.
Chinji.
Hi, Pushpa.
Hi, Pushpam, how are you?
Vimji, namaste.
Hello.
Pushpam ji. Good to see you.
Hi. Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Hello, Pushpan. I'm well.
पुष्पम कैसे हो?
Very good.
This is Manik.
Oh, hey, Manik. How are you?
Hey, good evening, Pushpam.
Good evening. Good evening. Good night.
Annie, do you recognize me, Saudamini?
Yes, I
Sarah.
did. My phone was on. My thing was on mute.
Hi, Priya.
Hi, Priya.
Hi,
After a long time.
Oh my
Priya,
gosh.
Priya ji.
So
Hi,
nice.
Priya.
Long time.
So
Hello.
nice to see. Look at this, Manik Dugarji and Rosie.
Hello, Priya.
Zach. South. Oh, Pushpam. Wow. All these people, how wonderful this is.
Good evening, Priya. Madhi's here.
Good evening. And is that Professor Murthy that I'm seeing?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, yes.
How are you?
And then there's,
Yeah.
and then of course, Sarah. Love you.
Yeah.
You too.
Yeah. Oh my
Good
gosh.
evening. Good evening, Priya. Madis here.
Oh, Madeshwaran ji.
ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದ್ದೀರಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದ್ದೀರಾ
ಹೆಂಗಿದ್ದೀರಾ? ನಿಮ್ ಕನ್ನಡ ಬಾರ ಇಂಪ್ರೂವ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಪರವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ.
ಐಸೆಕ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಈಗ.
Yes.
Rumor very good, very good. Wonderful, congratulations.
Thank you.
And I see
taken over from March.
Hi, Priya.
The Nepali Canadian contingent grows.
Yeah, we have like at least 3 people here. 4 now with money. No, Nepali Canadian. Yeah, at least 3. Right.
Hi, Priya.
Hello.
Hi dear. And then I see
Pragya. Pragya, you have to unmute. We can't see.
How are you?
Indira.
Joyshri.
কেমন আছে?
Oh, Joyshri.
Everybody. Wow.
Hello, Joyshri.
Wonderful to see you. Dark here too. All right, so we're almost ready, right?
Yeah.
Almost. Okay, I'll mute till Maniji starts.
We wait for David and Partha.
Yeah.
Partha is here.
David is also here. David is also here.
Hi.
Anu, can you see me?
Hello.
Yes.
Oh, yes, I can see you. Hi,
Yeah,
Partha. So good to see you.
Yeah.
Very good to see you, my dear girl. Thank you for your letter, Anu. I've just received it earlier this morning.
Okay.
Hi, Partha.
Manik.
This is Manik.
Yes, Manik. Are you held up in Canada?
Yes, I'm still here.
Good. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Raj and Manik.
Good to see you, Shastri. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Partha.
Well, I'm having tea.
Good evening, Professor Partha. This is Madesh from Bangalore.
Good heavens, yes. Very nice too. Why aren't you visible?
So, good evening, Partha Murtiya.
I know now what to do. Yes, I can click the side button. I can now see Inam.
Yeah.
I can see
Jackie here.
Pranav.
Hi, good evening, Prof.
Yeah, very well. Thank you.
Good evening.
Chopra.
Good to see you.
Partha, there's a button which says gallery view. So I suggest all press the gallery view and then we are all seen.
Okay, hang on.
The screen.
What is a gallery view?
There's a little button on the right-hand side, Partha, which
On the top, yeah.
little set of squares, and then you will see everybody at the same time.
Ah, yes.
Kind of thing.
I've got it. I've got it.
There you go. Excellent. All right. Wonderful.
Fantastic.
Hi, David.
Hi, Heman.
Good evening.
Hi, Anu. Hi, Priya.
Hi, Anu.
Hi.
Dolly, this is an international meeting, all right?
No, it feels like.
How many continents are we looking at? We are looking at 3 continents or more?
Brendu,
I
hi.
think more.
So at least 3: Asia, US,
Asia, Europe, North America.
3, Partha. 3.
When you speak, then now.
Hi, Brenda.
Priya. Hi. Hi.
So should we also now start or should we wait?
I think
Priya.
David's here, Maniji.
Let's start.
Okay, should we start?
Yeah.
Okay, so dear friends, thank you for joining us today for an online memorial service for Professor Karl-Goran Maler. As you all know, Professor Maler passed away a month ago, and the entire SANDEE family is deeply saddened. He was one of the founders of SANDEE, and he helped promoting and nurturing it for the next several years as an advisor, a spokesperson, and a mentor. He also helped establishing similar networks in other regions around the world. From these networks, thousands of researchers were trained in environmental economics. His contribution in promoting environmental economics was truly global, and he left an enormous legacy that we will always cherish. I met Karl-Goran in 2008 in Costa Rica during a conference with his wife, Shara. It was a great privilege for me to work with him for the next several years, especially in organizing annual SANDEE Summer School. He was extremely dedicated in research capacity building, and he was always there whenever we approached him for his support. We at SANDEE lost our mentor and a true friend. He will be missed very much. So with this short remarks, I would like to request Dr. David Molden, Director General of ECMO, for his short remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mani, and wonderful to see everyone, even on this sad occasion. But I can see there's a special feeling in the SANDEE family. We're joining from all over the world, I guess almost every corner of the world, to mourn the loss of Professor Karl-Goran Maler, but also to honor a great person who made significant contributions to humanity. As you know, he had a distinguished career at Stockholm University, director of Bio Institute, and member of the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences. But as we can feel tonight, he was a person who brought people together and made connections. Now, I, unfortunately, unlike many of you, did not have the opportunity to work with him, but I do feel I have a connection with him, and that is through the SANDEE family, which certainly has formed an important part of my life at ICIMOD. Professor Maler was one of the founders, together with Partha Dasgupta of SANDEE, establishing SANDEE in 1999 to develop research and training capacity. Environmental economics. And then he supported this network during his time, I think mentoring students, doing teaching, and making all kinds of contribution. And I'm happy to say Mani shared some statistics that SANDEE has made over 225 grants, trained over 1,500 researchers and university teachers from South Asia. And now the network is an extremely vibrant network, and certainly something I'm proud of too, where the alumni itself publishes more than 40 research papers per year, which is quite incredible. And a lot of that is groundbreaking literature that serves, gives important policy advice, now needed more than ever, I am sure. Not only that, Karl-Goran and Partha Dasgupta, and nice to see you, Partha, also were instrumental in forming LASIP and RANESA and later SIPA, other environmental networks. So the contribution in my regard is tremendous, and I'm proud to be associated with this group. And I'm actually quite honored to have this opportunity to pay respects to Professor Maler. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mani, you're muted. Mani, you're muted.
Sorry. So thank you, David, for your remarks. Now I would like to invite Priya Samsunder, the founding director of SANDEE, to take over the, to do the hosting of the meeting. Thank you. Thank you, Priya. It's over to you.
Sure. Maniji, David, thank you. We are here to celebrate the life and to honor the legacy of our teacher, our mentor, and our friend, Karl-Goran Maler. Let's take a minute of silence to think about what he has given each one of us. I would request you to mute your mics because there is background noise. So a minute of silence to think about our dear friend, Karl. Thank you. I would like, before I ask another dear friend, Partha, to speak to us about his memories and his life together with Karl, I would like to request all of you who are not speaking to please mute your microphones, to keep your videos on if your bandwidth allows. And some of you have already signed up to speak over the next 1 hour, but if others of you would like to say a few words, please let Mani know through chat, so we include you in this. And with that, I would like to start with opening remarks from Partha. Thank you, Partha. Please go ahead. Please unmute.
Well, thank you very much. This is it's hard to know how to think and speak about someone who is just about the closest friend I will ever have, or I will ever have had. We knew each other from 1979. We met in a taxi outside the Nairobi airport to take us to our hotel. And the first thing we did after having introduced each other, we actually knew each other by name, but not, we never met. We checked into our hotel and decided to go to a game park near Nairobi. And well, I'm not going to sequentially go through all the activities we were engaged in. I want to speak a little bit about where I think he belongs. Karl is a child of the Enlightenment, in the best sense of the word. There's no ifs and buts about it. He was the product of the Enlightenment, which flourished, which began, I guess, in the early modern period. How he did that is not clear. He's a slightly peasant-like background from the north. But I think his father had a great influence on him. He was a very rational person. And when I say he was a person of the Enlightenment, I don't want you to think of him in the way Renaissance painters painted Enlightenment figures, very austere. Karl was, as we all know, having known him in many guises, so to speak, he was a giant of a person. That is, he had a giant heart. And he had only one persona. He didn't change his personality in accordance with the audience he was with. If it was a child, he would speak in the same language, possibly not produce a theorem, but otherwise it's the same language as you would with Canaro, another apex, different, or with my wife, who is not an economist, nor a mathematician, or with pretty much anybody. It would be the same person. And I think that says something about the single-mindedness in him and the sense of inner self-confidence. He took the life of the mind with reverence, but it was never sanctimonious, nor did he ever look solemn about it. You will all remember there was a sense of intellectual life was one of fun. He laughed a lot. It was joyous to be able to prove a theorem, to have an idea, to argue against somebody. And he would change his mind, of course. These are extraordinarily rare qualities, and he had them in a very sharp way. It was the same Karl at every stage, in every situation. He was demanding. He wasn't and to compromise on that was very important, whether it was a child he was speaking to, or a colleague, or a student. If he thought you were wrong, he would say so. There would be no mixing up, massaging the error. And I think that's not, it's simply because I think he couldn't, when he was in the mode of thinking through a problem, he was lost in it. And yet, of course, at the same time, he was amazingly human. You all know that. So I won't describe anything that you haven't come across, because you've come across every feature of his personality that I've come across, even though I knew him a lot more. Because within 10 minutes, you'd see the whole range of his personality. One of deep affection for the person he was engaged with. He cared a lot for the students at SANDEE. And if he was very critical of their performance, his colleagues received the same critical attention and complaint. You have no idea how much he rubbed off people. But it wasn't criticism, it was, you're wrong. I mean, it's not a question, it's not an opinion here. In short, he was not a postmodernist. He was smack in the Enlightenment. You will have, I mean, I found it so hard to put my thoughts together that I'm very late. I haven't yet written his his life, or not an obituary, but my remarks for the Bear Institute, which is collecting. I still haven't done it because it's very hard to put it down in paper. But what you may not know, you've seen everything I've described, you have probably experienced, and you probably noted. There are very few people like that. The warmth came through even when he was criticizing someone for mixing stocks with flows. But what I thought I would conclude with, or sort of spend a bit of time, is to talk about his, if you like, the personal side. When he was always engaged in intellectual activity. I don't believe we ever met for anything more than 10 minutes before we were into economics. I've collaborated with many people, and I've been very privileged to have collaborated with some of the greatest minds of our time, and he's there, up there with them. But working with him had a kind of a zing, which was unusual. So with Ken Arrow, he would be actively engaged as an enormously perceptive mind, totally engaged. With Karl, within 2 minutes of an idea, he would get up to open a bottle of wine or whiskey or something to enliven the situation, because of course the whole thing is fun. We're not supposed to be solemn about it. That generosity is what made him such a successful mentor and institution builder. He was not a networker. The idea would be, his personality was not like that. He didn't go to meet people. If he went to see somebody, it would be to have discuss an idea, usually to get some money for the Bear Institute or for SANDEE or something. But I think I was good for him. I think he got something out of his friendship with me. I don't mean the papers. There's an element of that truth in that as well, because he wasn't quite driven to publishing. And I can't imagine he would have published the papers that we wrote together with Ken and Larry Goulder and others, the whole Bear Institute, and with me, if I hadn't been around, so to speak, because I tended to write up our thoughts. And then, of course, if that's the first, he would never write up his thoughts. But if I wrote up this, except one case, I'll come back to that later. And then it would be a sequence of moves as usual collaborative ventures go. But all these would come as byproducts of a wine-fueled meeting at the Bear or wherever. It was the pleasure of conversation, which was the start. And you have experienced that as well. But I was good for him for a really important reason. All this is the dynamics of collaboration. But at the personal level, I was really good for him. Because in 1994, we had, just before we had got the funding from the MacArthur Foundation, that too is a story of a kind that I think David would enjoy listening to, for the simple reason David runs an enormously important institute. I'd written a book and published a book in 1993 in which the preface, there's a huge book. In the preface, I wrote essentially to show what a wonderful community academics are, that I hadn't, all that work, all the help I'd got was for free. This was just intercollegiate help. And the book had not been supported by any grant. Now, Murray Gell-Mann, who's a great physicist and one of the advisors to the MacArthur Foundation, read it and decided that I must have been turned down for grants. And so he asked the director of research in economics to get in touch with me and ask me what money I needed for my research. There was a complete misunderstanding. Well, they invited me over and they asked me if I needed money. I said, no, not for my research, because I'm a theorist. I don't need any money for that. But I had this idea that Karl and I had been discussing for some years. Anyway, upshot was we got $1 million. At that time wasn't exactly cheap money. And I decided that there was no way I was going to use them from Cambridge. I would do it through the Bear. Of course, Karl took over, and the rest you all know. Priya actually joined the MacArthur Foundation, or was interviewed the day I went to meet with the MacArthur Foundation for this. This was back in 93 or 94, I can't remember, Priya will be. But okay, so that's how we started this. But just before that, we got the money. We had this conference in a workshop that was funded by WIDER, the World Institute for Development Economics Research. And it was in a horrible place in Jamaica. Horrible because we weren't allowed to leave the hotel. It was too dangerous. I mean, I'm not saying it was dangerous. We knew it was dangerous, but the hotel manager wouldn't let us go out. And one of the participants at that workshop was Sarah, whom you all know, and she's with us today. So glad to see her. And it was quite clear. Within 5 minutes, I could see that Karl was smitten. But he was not used to that kind of relationship. He doesn't know that's he may be a child of the Enlightenment, but this balked him. He didn't quite know what to do. So I had to goad him. I think we double dated for a couple of times. Christina helped me with it, Christina Leon Hufut. And of course, he met the love of his life. And it was an exceptionally happy and productive relationship, marriage, and companionship, partnership. Each gave the best to the other. And I think that brought a kind of a peace of mind, so he could then concentrate fully on whatever was interested him, which was, of course, to make ecological economics into a serious discipline, which I like to think he was very successful in carrying out with. And he didn't do it alone. He did it with the whole lot of us. We all have contributed to this. And I can't tell you how proud we all ought to be at SANDEE. It's very hard to be self-congratulating, but you should be very, very proud. I think we've done something. We've done something remarkable, invented a subject, a discipline. It didn't exist. It used to be called environmental and resource economics, but that was a sideshow of no great significance. In some sense, the entire relationship I've had with Karl sort of dominated, since 79, so we're looking at more than 40 years, is coming to a crescendo in the sense that I've been very, very lucky in every sense. I was asked by the UK government last summer to prepare the review of the economics of biodiversity, which is nearly completed now. Mani will know because he has given me some papers from SANDEE, which I've been using for it. When it comes out, you will get a sense of how far we have moved in our understanding of our place in nature than anything that existed before. And do not be fooled, if anybody, do not be taken in when somebody says, well, did we hear this before? Well, you may have heard it, but what I think we at SANDEE do is to give more than a token gesture, a nod to something. We actually work on it and create a framework within which all discussions on economics can take place. I think Karl would have been really proud if he saw the outcome of his enterprise. He wouldn't have been able to write a thing like this because he didn't quite have the patience. He would move on to something else, consolidation. But he would have known it. He probably would tell me, Partha, you mean you spent a whole year writing this? Whatever happened? Are you slacking? But that's how it is. We should be very proud and pleased that we knew him. And know him, he'll be there always. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Partha. I'd like to ask Professor Inamul Haq. He has made a video that will remind us of all the good times we had with Professor Maler. Inam, do you want to jump in?
Yes, thank you everyone. I have made a video basically depicting him from the day we knew with pictures. So let me show the video to all of you.
So it should show up on our screens.
Just a second, it will come.
We don't have to do anything, do we?
No, just watch, Partha.
Okay.
You want to mute your... Inam, we're not seeing the video. We're just seeing a blank screen.
No, just a second.
I know you're sharing screen, you must be, but
I'm
we're
sharing.
only, yeah.
Just a second.
If you think it's going to, should I ask Professor Chopra to, while you figure this out?
Do you see the video now? The screen?
I see the screen, but I don't see the video as yet. Previously we could hear the music, but we couldn't see anything. Okay, what I'm gonna do is maybe request Professor Kanchan Chopra while Inam figures that out. Oh, he started already. Again, I'm seeing the screen, Inam, but not the video. Carl would have said, just press the button, Inam. That's As many of you know, Inam is the most tech savvy or new technology oriented of the SANDEE family. So
I know. I had more confidence on him actually, because he used to be after me that how come I do not know about these technologies? But now he is on my footing.
Can you see the screen now?
I do see the
Yeah,
screen.
it's not coming, Inam.
It just shows Enamal Haq has started screen sharing, but it's not showing anything.
Inam, it could be something to do with the bandwidth. Sometimes it doesn't transmit when so many people are connected and you have a video. So it could be that.
Why don't you try sending the link to someone, maybe?
Why don't you just go ahead with the next
All right.
speaker and
Yeah, yeah.
Nanda, can you put in the chat box so that I can try?
Yeah. Kanchanji, would you like to take a minute or so? Professor Chopra, you have to unmute yourself. Can you press unmute, please? There you go. Now we can hear you now, Professor Chopra.
Thank you. Thanks, Priya. Like all of us, I was deeply saddened to know of Karl-Goran's passing away a month ago. But then a number of memories come back to me, and I'd like to share some of them. Most of them very happy memories of the time that we spent together. I first met him in the mid-90s, and it was at a workshop in Malaysia, in Kota Kinabalu, where some of you might remember. I was a bit in awe of him at that point of time, having known him only through the 1974 classic that all of us had read. There followed many, many interactions and meetings as a part of the SANDEE family, as a part of the Bear family, and soon I discovered many fascinating aspects of his personality. An intellectual giant, he could listen with consummate care to every student, to every person, and to younger students, to their presentations, and then come up very softly with an argument that linked their analysis to some aspect of theory. And then you knew that there was work for the person to pursue for quite some time to come. And he did this with such an ease. He made it seem so simple that he was loved and admired by all for that. The only words I have is that he was the quintessential guru in the Indian tradition. I remember also the time we spent in Trieste when we had that or a number of those training programs for students from Africa and Asia. And we would dig into different aspects of economics and political economy and a whole gamut of subjects that would, is many times over dinner and over wine, as Arthadas Gupta just reminded us, bring into focus sometimes very important issues that we remembered for a long time to come. At the fabled ASCO meeting, he brought ecologists and economists together, and he was sometimes also a disciplinarian. He could make sure that the house was quickly brought to order after to make the best of the limited time that we had at our disposal. Two events that I remember as I think about Karl-Goran. One was his visit to the Institute of Economic Growth around 97, 98, and his talk on the deep economics of shallow lakes. He loved that word, those words, the deep economics of shallow lakes. It led to quite a large number of young researchers following up with their career in environmental and ecological economics. Then in 2011, we had invited him to a conference of the Indian Society for Ecological Economics. This was in Hyderabad. For some reason, the linked visit to Delhi did not happen, but he made it possible to travel to Hyderabad to get in touch with all of us, to devise his contacts with so many of us. And that is another event that stands out. We will be eternally grateful to him for having been a part of our lives. That was also the last time that I met him, and his memory shall remain with all of us for a long time to come and make us try and do things a little better than we did. Generations of students, generations of the people he mentored and he worked for, to remember him. Thank you, Priya, for giving me this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Kanchanji. I certainly remember those shallow lakes. He loved to talk about those shallow lakes, the economics of shallow lakes. Inam, would you like to try again? If I do not see Jeff Vincent, who was supposed to go next. If anybody else, there you go, Inam. I can see the screen, but let's see if we can see the movie now. And I see something.
Yeah, we can see something.
We can see it, Inamda.
Inam, can you put it on a full view mode? Yes, thanks.
Thank you, Inamda, for those
That was
wonderful
wonderful.
memories.
That was really wonderful, Inam.
Yeah.
Carl used to say that Inam was overcapitalized, just as he himself was. And I think, yeah.
Yeah. And it reminds me of how we used to try to get him to dance every time the Nepalese broke into dance. And he got the hand movements. I think he went that far, but didn't get beyond that. All right, thank you, Namda. Let's see, is Jeff Vincent here? I don't know why he's missing, but he's missing. So I'm gonna go, he's not, okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and ask Professor Gopal Kadekure to say a few words for a minute, maybe. Are you there, Dr. Kadekure? We can't hear you, sir. You have to unmute yourself.
Okay.
Thank you. Now I think, nope, you're still muted. Dr. Kadekure, you're still muted. You have to press the unmute button. Nope, still muted. Dr. Kadekure, you have to unmute yourself. We can't hear you at all. Do you see that unmute button?
I'm unmuted already.
There you go. Now we can hear you. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Wonderful. Long memories of associations with Karl-Goran from probably 1995, 96 onwards. The most remarkable thing is at a very young age, immediately after his doctoral work, he is producing one of the first ever very classic textbook in environmental economics in a general equilibrium framework. And even for any student today, even now, that is one of the most well-read book. If somebody is interested to integrate environmental economics in a general equilibrium framework, I very much valued that book. I have had a few occasions to spend some time with him. In the early 20s, when we met in Kathmandu, I remember he was curious to know why my name is so different. A very humorous person as he was. He said, you are not having any common names like Ghosh, Basu, or Pandits, or something like that. I said, my name comes from a village, Kadekodi. He was so curious with his big belly at the time. In those days, he used to have a little longer, bigger belly. He jumped and looked at the wall and he found a map of India. He rushed, the speed at which he rushed, I could not follow him. And he said, show me your village. How do I show Kadekudi village, which is on the west coast of India, in Karnataka state, a small tiny village. Still I tried my finger and put my finger there and I said, I come from this village and I very proudly have this name as my name, my surname. And he was very happy that you are the one of the first one who explained. Otherwise, we in Europe, we have Johnsons, all sons of somebody else. But yours is son of a village. So he was very happy. And also he learned how to spell my name and pronounce my name so elaborate, so beautifully. One of the very few acquaintances of mine who could say my name very correctly as I would have said it myself. I only say this because of the humor, the livelihood, life power that he used to have, that I cherish and many of us cherish even today. I was very happy that we met in Trieste over a long time, and I think Partha was also there in those days. And Partha and of course Karl-Goran were busy in writing the Environment and Resource Economics book, so short book. Whereas I was busy in the beaches, going around looking for people around. But he said, you must speak in that Trieste meeting about SANDEE. I was so nervous because the founder of the SANDEE, founders of SANDEE were there. In front of them, I had to speak for about 30 minutes about the entire concept of SANDEE, its creation, its elaborated activities and so on. I hope I did that well, and he nodded and came back, well done. I think memories of this kind with Karl will remain with us for a long time to come, particularly in institutions like SANDEE or INSEE, or for that matter in any other social science forum. His contributions will be remembered in one way or other. And I only hope that people associated with these or institutions will carry forward his thoughts by organizing some annual events as suggested by Partha in one of his email messages this morning. I pay my high tribute to the soul and thanks to everyone for giving me this little time to speak about. Thank you all.
Thank you, Gopal. That image of Karl-Goran jumping up and rushing to a map, I think we've all seen that. And it just brings back such memories. We've seen him get excited and jump to look at a map many times. Thank you for that memory. I think what I'm going to do is call on Som and then Anu. Som, are you with us? Can you get your video on if you can, please?
Yes. So, yeah, it's difficult for me to talk about Karl-Goran. He was just one of these people one meets in life who's just so striking because he's so completely direct about, you know, whatever he was talking about. So if you discussed something with him and he didn't agree, he would tell you in no uncertain terms that you were muddled and confused. But the lovely thing about it is that you never felt bad about it because he was not really, it was just, he wanted to make sure that you weren't confused and that you didn't stay muddled. But it was one of those, he's one of those people that really kind of, you know, you remember him you know, many years after. Say, I haven't seen Karl-Goran for many years, actually. I can't remember how long it was, but probably something like 10 years, maybe, something like that. And yet it's, you know, it sort of feels like I sort of met him yesterday, because he just has that, you know, that kind of directness, which sort of makes, you know, makes you feel that, you know, while he's talking to you, his attention is just completely on you, and you know, you just have his complete and total attention. And it was really a privilege to talk to somebody who was, you know, such an insightful economist, and to be able to spend so much time. Karl-Goran, in my mind, is sort of indelibly mixed up with my memories of AIT in Bangkok, because, you know, I used to meet him there every summer for several years. And we used to walk around the grounds and look for the monitor lizards and the birds, you know, and discuss different kinds of birds in different national parks in Botswana and Venezuela and lots of other places I had never been to. And it was just hanging out with him, apart from the economics and apart from the insights, was just so much fun.
Thank you. So we've all been subject to Karl-Goran's directness. I think we know exactly what you mean. Anu, would you like to speak a few words, please?
Hi, everyone. I met Karl in 2002, and then I was lucky to meet him till last year. So I didn't know what to say, so I just wrote a small poem or a prose for him, so I would like to share it with all of you. Your life as I saw it. Life always comes as a limited edition. Even then, to experience its end is always a challenge. Yet, a handful of us are destined to make this limited edition long-lasting and impactful. Your life, Professor Maler, was not just number of years. Your life was a part of history in making. Your contribution to the welfare of humanity will remain for aeons to come. Multitudes of young minds will embrace your theories and take it further to higher levels for the sustainable continuation of not just human life, but the entire planet. Your life that I became a part of was so near yet so far from the academics. Your humility, your love, your friendship, your hospitality, all that I experienced were the reflection of the generosity of your heart. In SANDEE workshops, when you were with Partha, you were humorous, adorable, and witty, teasing Partha, enticing him, and reliving memories of your long friendship. From the stories of waiting with anxiety in front of a herd of lions in Africa, to the amazing history of medieval Europe, there was nothing that you had not read or knew about. And the herons, the mallards, the geese, and the quails, all the birds you watched so lovingly just flew right through your heart. You surprised us and inspired us, always exhibiting your knowledge of yet another different facet of the world. In Stockholm, with Sarah, Sarita, as you lovingly called her, who stood tall by you in health and sickness, you became a loving and caring host, ever cheerful and entertaining. I remember the discussions on the matters of the world and beyond. That discussion on the existence of divinity and your persuasive arguments to convince me otherwise, and the conclusion, we sweet things think we are God, so there cannot be any other. The long walks in the neighborhood of your residence, learning about the history of every little shops and monuments, the walk around the Sophia Church with your vast knowledge of its history was always fulfilling. Your love for every aspect of life, your larger-than-life humility, showered joy and everlasting impact on all of us who knew you personally. Even as you were diagnosed with a condition that could get only worse with time, your humor was there to stay. When someone asked you, Professor, how did you become so successful? Quick came the reply, oh, that's because I was very lazy. If you were ever worried, it was not for yourself, but for your beloved Sarah, wondering ever how your condition is impacting her life. Conversations and interactions with Karl-Goran in the latter days of his life pointed towards a huge achievement very few humans are capable of attaining, not the successes in terms of career, name, and fame. He achieved the impossible, a peaceful feeling of being content in life. When a researcher from Ghana, while interacting with Karl-Goran in 2018 said, "Karl, I think you should have won the Nobel Prize," he humbly replied, "Oh no, that's okay. I have received enough honors in life." And that was the great man we loved and respected. I will miss you dearly, Karl-Goran. Thank you.
Very well. Extremely, very good tribute. Very beautiful tribute.
Thank you, Anu, and
That was lovely, Anu.
That was.
yeah. And,
That was super.
and thank you also for representing this family during his last years, because we didn't get to be there, but you did. Thank you. Professor Murthy.
Thank you, Dr. Priya and others. It is a great thing for me to participate in this program about the devoted to our friend and a guide in the various programs. In fact, I consider him is one of the greatest environmental economics of our time. In fact, I have the fortune of working with him as one of the resource persons during the first 10 years of the SANDEE program after its inception. And he has been a great inspiration and support for many young researchers that in fact we have been attending the programs there, and the resource persons also. It is a great inspiration that we have used to derive from him. But see, basically, when we are all teaching environmental economics, in fact, his book is one of the earliest books in environmental economics with many innovative ideas. For example, we teach this environmental evaluation now, the revealed preference methods of environmental evaluation. But I think not many of us know that the original ideas about some of the methods that are now we are teaching, that in fact that appear in the book, the first time. That means we take, for example, the methodology of household production function or travel cost method that we talk about. I think the original ideas, we can see that. But later on, they have developed in a big way, in a good form. But they come from, in fact, come from his earlier work. That you can notice that. Which is a person with a lot of innovative ideas. You can think about that. And also, for example, the amount of time he has devoted for actually promoting the faculty upgradation programs in the developing countries, including South Asia, Africa, and all. And then the interest is taken. In fact, that is of invaluable service that we can talk about, the promotion of the teaching, training, and research in economics and development in this context. So I remember him. In fact, it is a life experience. He has encouraged us in a terrible way when we were all editing the book, including myself and along with the Priya is there, and three of us, environmental evaluation in South Asia. And he also wrote a book blurb on that. And then with a lot of encouragement, in fact, we used to get when we were trying to do anything that is contributed to the SANDEE program. It's a good life experience and life remembering experience, and the Karl-Goran that I have, that I never forget. One of the environmental economists of India. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Murthy. I'd like to now call Saudamini. Saudamini, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Priya. I think I think it's so touchy to see everybody, and like I really don't know what to say about Karl-Goran. He's such a great person. I think I really don't have words to say anything about it. But there are two things that I want to share with all of you. Whatever little I know about him from SANDEE, from his friends all over the world, whomever I met him on my days in Stockholm with Sarah at Bayer, I think he was a great scholar, he was a great intellectual, and also he was what amazing human being. I think he was a great son, a great husband, he was a great father, he was a great teacher, he was a great administrator, he was a great manager, and he was a great colleague. And you think you name any social or any professional relation, and he is the gold standard. I think that's what makes Karl-Goran the unique personality that he is. And whenever we meet him, I think there is something to learn. And he's always, the entire situation is always under his control. I remember when I met him in 2018 after the World Congress, he was already there at the care home, but he was so much on, the entire situation was so much under his control that we went to meet him, but the way he was cracking jokes, and the entire atmosphere was so light and so good that we came back fully refreshed. So that is something which is, I think, only the unique personality of Karl-Goran, that he only gives to people, and he only learn and enjoy his company. And he's never, like he has, I think, whomsoever you talk about, people only love him. Nobody ever says any word, anything that okay, we are disappointed with the Karl-Goran. Never. He's always giving, and everybody loves him. And there is one more thing that I really want to tell you all, that we all know that he has done so much for South Asia. His, through SANDEE, people have, so many careers has been built up. But I think one thing I want to say here is that he has only, built up so many characters and personalities. If you compare SANDEE associates with anybody else in India or anywhere else in South Asia, then you can just say that SANDEE people, they just stand out. Whether it's their professional ethics, their integrity, or the way they do their research with commitment, or the way they do their teaching and other activities, academic activities with the conviction that you don't see anywhere else. I think this is one of the most important contributions that he has made to social capital in South Asia and also to nation building. He has made so many intellectuals, but at the same time, he has also put a very strong foundation to the nation building in our part of the world. I know how much I have learned from him. I know my career, I have learned my career from SANDEE, but when I talk about my personality, the way I do my things, I think I all know it from Karl-Goran. And his energy and his power, and like he was one of the most powerful person that I have met in my life. Even right now, I feel like as if I'm giving a presentation in SANDEE R&T, and Karl-Goran is sitting there somewhere. Then he will say, "Okay, come, speak slowly." He will just give you one comment, and that comment is enough, to change the whole of your life and to put you on track. So this is Karl-Goran. Even a single word from him, one comment from him, is enough to make and change your whole life and change your personality, always for good.
You finished.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Saudamini. Can I, Subrendu, are you, yes, can you come put your video on if you can?
Sure. Of course. I think Jeff has also joined. I just saw him pop up, so maybe put him back in the queue. Okay, so can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so firstly to Sarah, I hope you're seeing that as sad as everything is, this is really a celebration. And so many of you have spoken glowingly of the impact that Karl-Goran had on all of us. And Priya and Partha and Sadamini, there's a lot been said already. And when David was introducing what SANDEE had produced over the years, 1,500 trained personnel, economists in the region, 200 grants, that's the flow from the stock that Karl-Goran was and is and will be forever and ever. And this is really, we can't really have a conversation about Karl-Goran's contributions without thinking about stocks and flows. And certainly SANDEE is the flow that comes from that stock. There's no question. And though I have mostly interacted with him through SANDEE, there was a conference that Jeff and Karl-Goran organized at Michigan State late 80s. And there was a chapter or a conference proceeding that Karl-Goran wrote on environment as a factor for inputs into firms. And that really became the backbone of my own dissertation in 1995, where I was looking at how water was affecting agricultural crops. Partha uses that every now and then, but it was just a conference proceeding. Maybe he put it into a book chapter at some point. That had a big influence on how I thought about, most people think of environment as affecting consumers, but not so much producers. And that I owe him that debt long before SANDEE in my thesis itself. And I do want to underscore the joking, fun nature of everything he does. So this was a running joke amongst the advisors when we would be discussing the grants, who would get it. If you stepped out and you heard that a bunch of grants had been rejected, you knew that basically Partha was out of the room and Karl-Goran must have been there. Not that he forever rejected the grants. He always wanted people to come back and improve. Like Sadamini says, you never felt that this was the end of the road in any way. This was always get better, get better. You don't know what you're talking about. You have to get better. And that's the spirit in which SANDEE has continued. And so, yes, this is a huge gift to all of us. We are with you, Sarah. Take care.
Thank you, Subrendu. How many times did he say, stop, think? Just wanted us to think. Okay, I would like to now request, I think, Manik to come on board, and then maybe Jeff, since you've arrived after Manik. Manik ji, are you there? Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
My memories of Karl-Goran are, I think I was among the first few in SANDEE who had the honor and opportunity to meet Karl-Goran. And the first time when I met Karl-Goran, I was scared. And then little did I know that lots of other people were scared as well. And as Partha rightly said, he was no nonsense, he was demanding, and he was abrupt. He will tell you.
Manik, we lost you. We can't hear you. We heard you were scared and then you disappeared.
I think he's still scared.
That's what I'm wondering.
Maybe Jeff
Hey,
can step in until his connection comes back.
Okay. All right. Let's have Jeff, who seems to have a stable connection. Manik will wait for you. Jeff, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hey, good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Sorry for joining late. I installed a new modem last night with the shutdown and having 2 kids, the girlfriend of my son. My wife and I all working, we needed more bandwidth, and it was all fine until this morning when it stopped working. Managed to get it fixed again, and so I'm here and really happy that I can join. I met Karl-Goran before SANDEE existed. Sprendu has alluded to this during the 1989-1990 year at Michigan State University. I organized the seminar series and he was one of the speakers in it. And just as Manik said, I was intimidated by him. I knew of his work. I was a pipsqueak assistant professor. I'm an applied economist. He's a theoretician, so of course I bow down before him. The feeling of intimidation was only increased by the brilliant talk that he gave, and which Sprendu has referred to. But because I was low person on the totem pole, I had the privilege of escorting him around campus. And that's when I started to get to know Karl-Goran as a person, as we drove around East Lansing, Michigan in, I think it was the second in the lifelong series of really terrible automobiles that I've had. So I started getting to know him a bit. And then a few years later, just out of the blue, and very much to my surprise, he invited me to be a resource person in a series of capacity building workshops that Bayer organized in locations around the world. And this was before the networks, of course. It's also how I met Partha, again, a person who I was very intimidated by. Like most graduate students at the time, I had been required to read The Economics of Exhaustible Resources. It was a treat to meet Partha. And what impressed me at these workshops, and some were training workshops, some were research seminars, was if people like this, if Karl-Goran and Partha feel it's worth their time to commit effort to this capacity building, then surely it's worth my time, right? And so I had some interest in capacity building efforts already, but this just really clinched it for me. And it's really during that time, those Bayer associated training workshops, research seminars, when we became friends, and when I met Sarah. And so I knew Karl-Goran for quite some time before SANDEE even existed. We shared lots of experiences. Of course, Sarah and Karl-Goran's wedding, probably one of the biggest highlights. But some of my favorite memories are definitely from the SANDEE events, and the R&Ts, the summer school. And not so much the technical events, that's not what I'm referring to here, although I continue to learn an incredible amount from him, but all the fun things that went along with these activities. The meals, the walks, Karl-Goran's excitement when he saw a bird or saw his lizard friends at AIT, the wine, just all those great activities, all that great, those great interactions. I last saw him in September when my wife Liz and I met up with Sarah in Stockholm, and Sarah kindly took us over to see Karl-Goran at the nursing home. And Karl-Goran was not the Karl-Goran that we knew in SANDEE at that point, but he was still unmistakably Karl-Goran. We took him out for a walk around the lake that's near the nursing home, and he was excited when he saw birds. He was excited when we stopped and got ice cream. He would have been more excited if we'd stopped and gotten wine, but I don't think that was allowed, Sarah. Still Karl-Goran. We went back and spent a little bit of time, and Sarah showed him pictures of birds and would speculate as to what they were, and intentionally sometimes not getting them right, which would of course would provoke a response. No, Sarah, that is a, whatever this obscure bird was. So still Karl. And what was most evident was really the love that he felt for Sarah. And just, it made me feel so good to see that, although he was in this difficult state, he was, still, just so much in love, knew who Sarah was, and was clearly very much at peace and comfortable. So we've lost a dear friend and a one-of-a-kind mentor. The impacts he's had on me, I couldn't list them all. It's an endless list. And it's wonderful that we're honoring him now in this way. And but I think the best way we can honor him, and someone surely said this already, is to continue doing all the things that SANDEE does and we do as members of the SANDEE family. Let's continue this commitment to capacity building, whether it's in a formal way through SANDEE or through the other things we do. Let's continue our research, some of which is together with each other, or some others on our own. And I think nothing would make Karl-Goran happier than to see that this part of his legacy, I mean, it's an enormous legacy, but that this part would continue on in that way.
Thank you, Jeff. Manik, are you still with us? Would you like to come back? We lost you for a little while. I think he may have dropped out. So I'm going to move on and ask Professor Madheshwaran to hop in. Madhesh, you had a unique relationship with Karl-Goran.
Yes, Priya, thank you very much. As a senior batch student of SANDEE, I'm the second batch student of SANDEE. At the outset, I thank you for giving this opportunity to say a few words about our teacher, mentor, and philosopher of our SANDEE. And given the time slot, I would like to say a few words from my fond memory of Professor Karl-Goran. The first is about my proposal stage, and second is about my R&D WhatsApp presentation, and third is just now Professor Inamal has shown the photo. That's a joke apart, and just would like to say the three things about from my fond memory about Professor Karl-Goran. The first is that the second R&D of SANDEE, I was presenting my proposal on valuation of statistical life, which was held at TERI, New Delhi. And I was so scared that Professor Patta and Professor Karl-Goran sitting there, and Professor John Dixon was talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly in environment. And soon after the tea, my presentation was there. I went to the stage as a young fellow. I was 30 years back, I'm saying. And when I was working at Gokhale Institute, I went to the stage. I was so nervous, very weak in English that time. And in front of people, English won't come, and the language will stop from my mouth and all sort of things. Karl-Goran said that, the moment I went to the stage and he said, he pronounced me in his own tone. I do mimicry like him, but it's not the time to do that. Call as a Madhesh. John Dixon spoke. I put valuation of statistical life under bad. Now you put it under good. Now you start your presentation. That's what he told me. That's a fond memory of me. Then after he said that, I got a flip and the courage to speak. Of course, Professor Kopal Kadekodi was there in that meeting. And of course, we had a long fond memory that, Professor Kadekodi and myself, we have conducted the 2 R&D workshop at Bangalore, and we were fortunate enough to have Professor Karl and Patta, and thanks to Priya for that. And apart that, the second memory is, this is about the proposal stage. Second memory, of course, Pranab, remember that this is in Dolphin Restaurant and in Sri Lanka. That was my presentation, progress presentation. Priya has a very diplomatic, sarcastic that he has put Karl as a mentor to my project. And he was my mentor. Of course, each project grantee has their supervisor, guide, and mentor. I was so fortunate enough to have Professor Karl-Goran as a mentor. Then the presentation was going on, and he asked me to, I started deriving the wage risk trade-off based on the state-dependent utility function. And when I was deriving, he, in his own tone, Madhesh, stop. I said, sir, no, tell me the economic meaning of this derivation. I was blinking. You have derived the marginal utility of death. That's what I shouted. And I said, sir, I don't know. I said it's the risk, the marginal utility of risk of dying, and the wage risk behavior combination I had derived. No, you have derived marginal utility of death. My goodness, in my lifetime. And wherever he meets And later on, Priya, today in the R&D workshop for many years, I myself, Vinamal and Deepankar Kundu, we used to teach whenever he meet me in the R&D. Did you teach the utility of death to all these researchers? That's what he makes me joke. And that I can't forget my teacher, my mentor and philosopher. And in fact, this hearing, I was so shocked, and I have got a lot of photographs with him, of course, with Professor father as well. And my third, the final one, is that a joke just of Professor Inamul Haq has shown the video. And in one of the video that someone is touching, I'm touching his tummy. Professor Karekori was saying that his tummy is very big. And that day, I don't know, that's in Sri Lanka as well. Of course, the Balu from Tamil Nadu Agricultural University was doing some work at the time on common property resources with the irrigation tank, big irrigation tank, and this and that. Then Professor Karl has intimidated me that, hey, Matish, your tummy is very big, while drinking in the night time and during dinner. And I said, Professor Karl, yours is a big irrigation tank, mine is a small irrigation tank, so that the Balu can find out the coping mechanism in his project. So he was laughing, he hugged me and laughing. That kind of a hug still I feel. And thank you for this opportunity. I pay my respect to my mentor teacher, Sarah. I pay my condolence and my respect to my teacher. You are here on the line. And of course, we the SANDEE has a vision given by Professor Father and Karl-Goran. The vision and mission, of course, Professor Priya, Dr. Priya has taken over and did over the period of time. Of course, the SANDEE will fulfill his vision and mission further. And thank you very much for giving this opportunity. As a senior batch student, I'm so, the thing is that, I have shared my fond memory. There are many memories, but it's a short time that, I would sometime, when we meet, probably, normally, Shara, I normally talk like Professor Karl. I am mimicry. Dr. Priya knows that I do mimicry. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Madesh. I know he enjoyed teasing you. Thank you. I don't see Herat. So, Professor Joyshri Roy, Joyadi?
So when I met first Karl, so that was, I think in Dhulikhel was the meeting, and I just straight came from Berkeley to defend my proposal. So in one of the evening meetings, he asked me, he wanted to find out why I went to Berkeley. So I told him, and then he said very candidly, now you have SANDEE in your region. You don't have to go anywhere, you know that? And it's true, So they could really make it. Partha Dasgupta and Karl-Goran with Priya and Manik as their soldiers could really make South Asia researchers get acquainted with a very rigorous research, I would say, rigorous culture, and how to see the standard development economics problem through the lens of environmental economics. I think this has changed a lot. I mean, the young researchers, the way they have grown in the region, it is remarkable. Because many a time you see that the developing country research is done by someone else who is really trained to see the problems. But here they made the locals to see the local problem and formulate the problem with the rigor. I think this is, one of its kind example in the world how capacity building really needs to happen. So from that point of view, I would say that we are really all thankful to them. And then, of course, the whole crew who took it forward to make it happen and to make their dreams come true. So once I remember, I invited him to Jadavpur University, and he came, and through his lecture, he touched the hearts of all the young researchers and the young faculties. And I was ever grateful to him for that. And of course, his contribution in the subject will be remembered by us because they are classic, and then we will be using them definitely. But I think his mere physical presence was so inspiring. And I think we will live with that inspiration always. And Sarah and Karl were both equally loved by all of us in SANDEE. And I think we all will continue to do so. So, I mean, to us, Karl is forever living. And so I don't like to say goodbye to him. He's always with us. Thank you very much, Priya.
Thank you, Joy Shridi. That was just right. Bhim, are you still here? I don't see Rucha, but I think I saw Bhim Adhikari. I don't see Bhim anymore. Oh, there he is. Bhim, can you unmute yourself, please? Bhim, you're still muted, my friend. Oh, yes, you're okay now. Yeah.
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 Okay. Hi, everyone. So thanks. I think a lot have been said already, so I didn't have much to contribute. But just I met Karl, I think like Joshri, I think in 2000 in Dulikil workshop. And we all were very curious because there were two people we heard quite some time, Partha and Karl-Goran, is a, you know, stand-up environmental economics. So we're very curious, you know, who these people are, and then we were very nervous, of course, what's going to happen, you know, in our grant applications. So there was a very scary moment, and it was a very scary moment. But at the same time, I think the interaction with the Karl, you know, there was some kind of assurance that no, I think you guys will be okay, but you have to get the thing right. So I think we have a lot of I have a lot of, you know, impact in my life, you know, from Karl in the many meetings I think I attended in so many of these years. And every time I think you interact with him, I think you learn something new. You don't have to ask a question. You just watch, go there, you know, Karl talking to people. It is always, you know, there's something for you to learn. So two particular thing I like to mention. When I joined IDRC back in 2011, I think we know that person, David Grover was there for many years. And I didn't have any overlap, you know, because he already left before I joined the IDRC. And I was given this profile, you know, this all the network IDRC was supporting for many years. SANDEE, LASIP, IPSI, and SIPA as well. And I was reading all I know SANDEE a little bit, obviously, you know, being a SANDEE grantee, but I didn't have much knowledge about all the network. So I started going through all the IDRC internal documents, memos, as much as I can, you know, I read all of them. And there was one memo from David Glover. So, you know, part of the IDRC grant process, you know, we had to kind of do some kind of assessment of the grantee, you know, how risky of the recipient is. And when I was reading the SANDEE, and I saw two lines from David Glover, and obviously he mentioned two people, Karl obviously one, and the second person, obviously we know who this second person is. I think having these two people on board, so there's no way that, you know, the grant is going to be, you know, kind of failure. So that's how I know, you know, how to do the, you know, the institutional risk assessment of all the IDRC grants, I think we are going to make. So that was very nice, I think, kind of a lot of things, something I noted in the David Glover's memo. I think the kind of respect I think he was expressing in that memo to Partha and Karl-Goran, I think that was very interesting, and I kind of learned from that, you know, how to convince IDRC for any future grant. So that was my first kind of incident. And my last time I met him was in the LASIP at 10 workshop in Mexico, where she was there and Partha was there. And maybe he couldn't recognize me, and there was a little sad part because I still wanted to interact with him, but Sarah tried to remind. I think he looks like he's still not sure. But you know, his presence was. I kind of feel that when he was there, you know, I feel that okay, everything's going to all right. You know, I see him as a kind of authority. You know, the kind of meeting we were organizing there. So I realized that, you know, in front of him, you know, he was a very giant, tall person. And I always feel, you know, I'm a kind of small kid, you know, in front of him. And whenever I have a problem, I think Karl is going to solve that problem. So I still, they know, very interesting kind of feeling, that particular time. So yeah, that's something I really would like to share. That kind of assurance and that kind of, he was a kind of our kind of very old parent. So I kind of had that feeling, and although I think I wish I could have interacted more with him that time, but at least that was my last time, I saw Sarah and Carl. Yeah, we have a lot of memories, and it's a SANDEE grantee. I think we learned so much from him. Our entire life was shaped by, it's not too much to say that, whoever we are today, I think there's a great contribution from SANDEE, and Carl was a very, very integral part of that. So there is no doubt on that. So yeah, I just take this moment, to respect and to express our love to him. And Sarah, all the best to you, and then we are always with you. So I just would like to, please pass on my love to, Carl, and all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Bim. Zakir, would you like to say a few words? And then Pranav, we're I think almost to the end here. It's just been a wonderful.
Thank you, Priya. This is very much, I'm a little bit excited to see all the people after a long time, because when I started my journey with the SANDEE, I was a master student. And definitely I'm grateful to my professor, Enamul Haq. He just was my vehicle to just enter into the SANDEE family. And I could remember, Sarah, that the days, actually I have learned, I was not just master student, but also I learned so many things gradually whenever I was introduced with the several colleagues, especially the parents of the SANDEE, like Professor Murthy and Karl-Goran, and Jeff was there also. So it was really my, I know, so far I remember, it was very much easy to handle the Karl-Goran whenever we were in line with the theory. It was really tough to overcome him if it doesn't go with the theoretical approach in the applications. So, and I can remember the fun part, especially Sunday special dinner. It was so amazing to mix with the younger people like me and other people from different countries. It was really very much memorable for me, and I really, I can just imagine the time he has spent. And he was a really very man of humorous. At the same time, he was very childish in nature. He was so amicable to everyone. That was really cannot mix. Sometimes the economists, sometimes people try to identify as more, the professional, more tight and, more, but he was so amazing guy actually. So I can tell that this time we spent together at the very earliest, early 2000, from 2004 to onward, 2008, so far it was really engaged. It was very much fruitful and great, and I'm really grateful to the Sarah, and I believe that the real foundation has been made with the guardianship with the Karl, Partha, and Sana Murthy, and obviously and Priya. That was very exciting for us, and still I can, whenever I go, I can distinguish the really productive memory with the SANDEE with the other everyone. I always feel that was really, that was and still and the future that SANDEE will be my family. So I'm really grateful to the SANDEE family, and especially Karl for his very exciting and insightful comments and encouragement to the young researcher of the Bangladesh and as well as the South Asian other. Thank you very much, Priya, for giving me the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Zakir. It's really good to see you. Manik, you want to come back in quickly, and then maybe Pranab, and we will close.
Sure. Thanks, Priya, and apologies with technology limitations here, but I'm back, and I have great fond memories of Karl-Goran. He has, my association with him was less in the sense of the academic side of it and the research side of it, but more from an institutional side of it. And he had less diplomacy, but he had a great vision for SANDEE, not in so many words, but he and Partha and some of the Priya all had thought about it, and we see the fruits of that today. Whether it was in, Nepal, or it was in Bangladesh or in Thailand, wherever it was, if I were not gone to receive him at the airport, Karl will, first thing he'll ask is, where is Manik? And I still remember that I was having a little bit of difficult time with our host organization in Nepal, and I was venting it out to Partha and Karl and Priya, and then at Dolphin Hotel in Sri Lanka, in one hand he has his wine bottle and the other on my shoulder, taking me walking through the shores of the sea there, and then telling me, oh, it will all work out, don't worry, we will find money, we will find something, don't worry about it. And that's the kind of person Karl was. Karl was, as we can all see, Karl was a true friend of SANDEE. He was, what we see among everybody's words, that is his legacy to our group and to the whole of SANDEE. And he was, in that way, for me, he was a person of true guru for anything. Karl loved Nepal. He would love to come back again and again. And one of the memories, and which also reflected with so many people, including Anu's poem, is with his camera and a thick book on birds, and will go walking with him. And that was amazing. And then he will tell me what bird it is and where it comes from, and all the details of his his interest and his passion for nature was so amazing. My last meeting with Karl was, I think, during the 10th anniversary of SANDEE in Kathmandu, when I went with Sarah and Karl for lunch with Raj again. And he asked me, am I happy? And I said, yes, Karl-Goran, I'm happy. And it was so, he gave me a present and he said, I'm happy that you are happy. One of the things that Karl taught me was how to select wine. I am a non-drinker, and yet he will tell me. In fact, I remember when I was, because Karl and Partha and all these people will drink wine, and so when I went to go and get wine in Sri Lanka, he tells me, go and buy Shiraz, right? And I said, okay, right? And so my memory of Karl is a true guru, a true friend, and true friend to all of us. There is a saying in Hindi, and I would like to say that, and I'll explain what does it mean for a true guru. So it says, Guru Govind dono khade, kake lagu paun, balihari Gurudev ki, ye Govind diyo bataye. So a student is going, and the Guru and the God Almighty are both coming together. And the student gets confused. Who should he bow first? And the God Almighty tells him that the one who gives you knowledge is the most respected one, and therefore you should bow to your Guru first. And I think Karl-Goran was that kind of a guru. I would really remember it, and I'll cherish my memories with him. And Sarah, we are all with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Manikji. Thank you. I agree, he was that kind of a guru. I'd like to see if anybody else, Pranab, do you want to say a few words, or anybody else who might want to?
Priya, I would be delighted to, but I think if we could have some of our friends from Sri Lanka or Pakistan who might want to come in, if you permit.
Of
Ali,
course.
Ali here.
Ali, would you like to say a few words? I'm just trying to nudge him here.
Sorry, did you say Ali?
Yes, I did say Ali because I've been seeing you. I haven't seen you in a while.
Yes. Yeah, it's been ages. It's a privilege to be in this group right now. It's a privilege to be a product of it. It's humbling to see people who've helped, and Jeff has pushed that much. And he's someone I remember at Harvard in 1995. It's extraordinary. I can't tell you how humbling it is. This is, something that's life-changing. It alters your level of confidence. It alters how you work. And to echo what other speakers said before, it's not something that one has seen. One has not experienced capacity building of this kind, where in our own country we begin to feel like we're one of a kind. I think my colleagues who are Pakistani will know, because our communities are not so big, and when you're a Sandeeite, it's a very special and a very different thing. It's very oriented to, and it allows you to turn around and look at your in a way that's very special. So, I remember Karl, and we're all of us grateful to the SANDEE family, and I thought that's all I should say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ali. Thank you. Pranab?
Thank you, Priya. It's a great, honor for me to have known Karl and Sarah. It's great to see you here. Let me start by saying that I first met Karl and, of course, Professor Partha Dasgupta in 1999, where we attended a beer conference in Kathmandu. And, there's been some discussion on how difficult Karl was during the RNTs where grant proposals used to come. Luckily for me, I had the opportunity to see both Karl and Professor Partha at these workshops. So there had been some, ice-breaking opportunities. So, and I realized that Karl was brutally honest, and in the SANDEE workshops, there was something called the Karl test, and those of us who were not in the advisors group but were sitting on the other side, had to undergo this Karl test. Karl test was very simple. He would look at a proposal and he would pick up the most innocuous looking equation or statement in that proposal and ask a question. And, it was like one of these Western movies where the person either has to draw out a gun or just turn around and walk. And if the person was honest enough to say, Karl, that's a wrong statement, I didn't know that I had made a mistake writing it, Karl would accept it and let the person go. But if you made the mistake of trying to fudge or trying to, bluff your way through that, then you had it. For the next 20 minutes, And for the rest of his life, Karl would hold it against him or her, whoever the case may be. So that was the Karl test. And that's something that, one got to know about Karl as one went along, that all he wanted was you to be honest about something, whether you knew it or you didn't know it. And if you didn't know it, just accept that you didn't know. There's a world of unknown elements out there. And all you have to do is to say that this part of that, I belong to that part of the world in this, bit of my knowledge set. And that was really nice. That was a learning lesson for many of us to be honest and say, this is something I know, this is something I don't know. And so that's one thing that many Sandeeites learned from Karl, the Karl test. The other thing that was remarkable about Karl, and as we know him for many years, is the community that he used to build around himself. And this is something we've seen in SANDEE. This is something that I have experienced at Bayer, and I've seen members of other networks we have met on various occasions, including people from the entire group of economists in Sweden who worked around Karl and the generation of economists that he trained and mentored there, that he built social capital. And I think that's something remarkable. As friends, I mean, we were nowhere near the intellectual capital that he was able to build in many other parts of the world, but he would respect you as a person, not just as an economist. And that's something that's, coming from an intellectual giant like Karl, is very humbling. And just as he would be honest and harsh, Sarah, you were honest and soft to us. So if we came back on a bad day, having encountered Karl in one of these Karl tests, you were always there to soothe our, our egos and our, and you were always the soft soul of the Karl-Goran Sarah family. And so thank you for, having us in your lives, and for, in being host to us, in being, parents to us when we were traveling, and for being our mentors in many ways. And one other thing I want to also mention about Karl is that he had certain things that he liked. And I remember once I happened to be in part of a conversation going on between Christina and him. And he had just distributed a Bayer t-shirt to us. And I can't remember, Inamda, you may remember, it's probably in Kathmandu or some other place. And so he asked me, do you like this t-shirt? So I said, yeah, it's nice, it's great. He says, no, do you like the t-shirt? It had a particular pocket, which was a round collar t-shirt. It had a pocket there. He said, do you like the pocket? So I knew this was one of those Karl tests coming up. And, you either was going to, be a null hypothesis and an alternate hypothesis, and you could either fail or pass. So I said, yeah, sure, I like it. And he says, I'm glad you said you like it, because I was the one who insisted it be there, because I need to put my pen in my pocket. And if it's not there, I feel very lost. So I passed the test on that occasion. So he had these very strange, ways of expressing himself. I remember once when Saudamini was presenting her in one of the RNTs, I think it was one of her progress reports, and Karl walked into the room. And I happened to be sitting next to her. And he says, and I don't know if, Saudamini could hear him or not, but he said, we are talking about ecosystem disservices, super cyclones, etc. But we must remember that ecosystems also have positive side effects. So I said, what could that be, Karl? I said, why? It increases diversity. It increases biodiversity. And I looked at him incredulously, and I said, I have not thought of that. And that's something I learned in a side conversation with him, to think of these natural elements in way, extreme events happen, where it adds value to a particular region, though it might be extremely, devastating for another set of reasons. So, and at every occasion that I've met him, I've learned something. And that's true for most of the SANDEE family. And I'm really grateful, I'm really honored, and to be part of a group like this, which has been such a learning and growing experience for me. And that includes you, Priya, Professor Dasgupta, Jeff, who was my early mentor during the days, everyone who's in this group, Professor Chopra, Professor Kadekodi, Professor Murthy. Thank you very much for making me part of this family and giving me this opportunity to say thank you to Karl and to Sarah on this occasion. Thank you.
Thank you, Pranab. Those wonderful memories that all of us have. Is there anybody else who would like to say a last word? Or I will. Okay, Sarah wants to speak, and then I will make closing remarks, Sarah. Or do you want to wait, or do you want to speak now?
Priya, I have just one small thing to add, if you allow me, is to say a word of thanks to our host, Rumi, who has allowed us to hold this meeting, even though he's not been part of the SANDEE family. So just a word of thanks to him. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Sarah, would you like to speak now? Is that, did I see you raise your hand, or maybe I was mistaken? I'm not quite sure. Is there anybody else? Maybe not. Okay. Sarah, are you trying to say something? Because you're muted and I can only make out from your facial expression. I can't hear you, Sarah. You're muted, my dear. I can't hear you. Yes, now you're unmuted. I can hear you now. Were you trying to? No, you're muted again.
Yes, I would like to say something, if I may.
Absolutely, you can, absolutely. Please go ahead.
SANDEE has been a wonderful program for capacity building, and everyone is just happy for it. And this is an occasion in which you are, all of you, trying to push up what Karl-Goran has been able to do for SANDEE. I think in the communication between two persons or two groups is needed two sides. And he had a great luck of having this group of people that are so human and academic wonderful. He was also my teacher. He also touched my life, as many of you have said. And I am trying to keep up all the time with the fact that I am celebrating the extreme privilege I have had of being at his side for 25 years. So whatever you have said today, it's helping me to keep with his beautiful time with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. We're so grateful to have you at our side today. Thank you. It's hard for me. I'm going to close. Before I do that, I want to thank Inam and Pranab for getting us started with this memorial, Nisha and Mani and Anu for helping implement it, Rumi for allowing us to use Zoom. The family came together and all of you showed up because we all know what Karl has meant for us. So thank you. It's hard for me too to talk about Karl. That's why I'm coming in the end. He was my friend. He didn't start as my friend, but he was definitely my friend. And I have so many good memories. I remember the first time I met him. It was in Malta. And he made us climb some cliff. So he made us go up this cliff. He made us lie down flat on our bellies, look over the cliff. And he wanted to look at some darn birds over there, which had flown away by the time we trudged up and got to the top and laid on our bellies to look for these birds. So the birds had gone. But I thought, OMG, what is this? This Karl-Goran Maler. What am I getting into with these folks and SANDEE? But my relationship with Karl evolved since then. It grew every year. It grew every year as I realized, I truly realized, I think I had studied environmental economics. I was sort of an environmentalist, but economists tend to have a harsh edge to them. A lot of it is about equations and econometrics and getting this right and that right. But he was driven truly by this love for diversity, and it was so clear to me. And he saw the importance of diversity, whether it was with birds or with people. And I remember him watching these dances in Nepal. Every year we'd watch these dances in Nepal. He'd watch them with us from different parts of Nepal. And, this is what was important to him. He truly believed this. And as I understood that, my relationship my heart just became more entwined with him, and his steadfastness, his steadfast support for SANDEE, his love. He would show up every single year. He'd be there humming, quiet, just a presence, always willing to offer his mentorship to the many SANDEEites who came through, pour his intellectual energy into us, teach us about shallow lakes. And then he brought Sarah into our lives. And that was like, icing on the cake. That was special. Thank you. Thank you, Sarah, for coming into his life and for coming into ours. And I mean this very, very sincerely. And for his humor, that social capital. He was not the kind of person who said, I'm building social capital. That's not what he said, but that's what he did. Every time he picked up a glass of wine and said, hey, let's have a glass of wine. Let's have a cup of coffee, just that he enjoyed it. He just took it all in. It mattered to him. And I learned from that. I learned how to build SANDEE, how to manage SANDEE, just by the modeling that he did. And I have taken that lesson to heart, even with my kids. The modeling really matters. It's not what you say, but what you do. And his humor and his jokes and his, and his stubbornness. How many times did Anu and I walk around with him in Bangkok and say, hey, Karl, we should get a foot massage? Never could get him to do that. Just wasn't on his list, on his to-do list. But he knew what he liked and what he didn't. So I think watching Karl, learning from Karl, that maybe all of us should become birders. Birders, maybe this makes you happy wherever you are and allows you to be delighted by the small things in life. A cup of coffee, a glass of wine, an equation, a graph of shallow lakes with feedback loops, a joke. These small things that matter tremendously. That was Karl. He was so content when he was with us and gave all of us a measure of confidence because he was so content. So thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, Partha, all of you friends. And for this friendship between Partha and Karl that, grew SANDEE. Thank you. So those are my own words, but I want to end with a poem. Something that somebody who speaks much more eloquently than I do. So if you would indulge me, When Great Trees Fall by Maya Angelou. When great trees fall, rocks on distant hills shudder, lions hunker down in tall grasses, and even elephants lumber after safety. When great trees fall in forests, small things recoil in silence, their senses eroded beyond fear. When great souls die, the air around us becomes light, rare, sterile. We breathe briefly, our eyes briefly see with a hurtful clarity. Our memory, suddenly sharpened, examines, gnaws on kind words unsaid, promised walks never taken. Great souls die and our reality, bound to them, takes leave of us. Our souls, dependent upon their nurture, now shrink, wizened. Our minds, formed and informed by their radiance, fall away. We are not so much maddened as reduced to the unutterable ignorance of dark, cold caves. And when great souls die, after a period, peace blooms, slowly and always irregularly. Spaces fill with a kind of soothing electric vibration. Our senses, restored, never to be the same, whisper to us. They existed. They existed. We can be and be better, for they existed. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Such a pleasure to see all of you. Thank you for this opportunity for us to come together to think of a dear, dear friend of ours, and hope we will all gather again on a different occasion, but we'll remember Karl then, but we may be thinking about more environment and development, which he loved to think about. So thank you.
Priya, just quickly.
Yeah, thanks.
I just wanted to echo what Partha said to some of us on the email, that maybe we can regroup and do a conference, right? That's exactly the sort of thing Karl-Goran would appreciate so much. And we've all been doing new things. It would be, worst comes to worst, we do it on Zoom. Everybody gives a 10-minute presentation.
I had thought that I think there was this, I was reminded there was a 10th anniversary and there was a plan for 20th, which Mani reminded me of. I hadn't picked it up when I wrote about that. But with the finite series, you can make any kind of rule and it makes sense. I think it makes a difference to have a conference together. Karl wouldn't have enjoyed Zooming at all, I don't think. This is not his style. His style is to hug somebody and take him for a walk. We've discussed this. I mean, he was a very tactile person. And I was wondering whether we shouldn't, I think there is a thought, and it's up to you, of course, you should think about it, but December may be too early for fluid movements of people. So I was wondering whether we couldn't think of, at least it's up to the steering committee, to think of a 21st anniversary, coming of age of SANDEE, as it were. So that would take you into the next year. But originally I had in mind, I still think it'd be a fun thing, would be one where we could think of sort of 3 generations of SANDEE people. The latest will be the ones who are perhaps attending as participants at the teaching workshop. And then at this time have some from the past, so to speak, the past, who would also give, and then invite a few of the elderlies. And then if we had a workshop in his memory, if you like, just before a teaching workshop, add a few days, 2-3 days, I don't know, these are details, where the 2 older generations, as it were, could give brief talks about their work. So it's not just the
I think we are called near elderlies, Partha.
Not just the parents or the grandparents, but also some people who have passed through in the last 10 years or so, and so that you can have a sort of the idea really is to show the continuity of the process. I mean, of course, you could subdivide it now. It's just the 3-way partitioning is simply the advantage is that the people who are going to be the participants of the summer school, they would be rather inspired to think that they have a earlier generation who had gone through the same route now. And then there are people like Enam and me, who were sort of, maybe we will also give a talk each, but that's optional. That was the idea I had, that we could have a multi-generational meeting to show that these are not just a happenstance, it's a flow. Okay, anyway, that's for you to think about. And you probably have better ideas.
Fantastic idea, Partha.
Good idea, Partha. So there's something we should be, Maniji, maybe we can all be thinking about that a little bit more. Yeah?
Yeah, actually, we have been thinking about conference, but because of this pandemic, December looks very very close. So as Partha said, we might, organize something by next this spring or closer to the summer.
Yeah.
But that is definitely in our agenda. Thank you very much for suggesting, Partha.
All right, very good.
And thank you all for attending today. And it's very nice to see you all. And Sarah, thank you very much for joining us.
It's
Thank
me.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye all. It's
Bye-bye.
lovely to be together again. But
thank you very much.
But meeting face to face beats this.
Yes, that's a glass of wine.
Yep.
Yes.
Great to see you all. Take care, everyone.
Take care.
In everybody's home.
Stay safe. Stay safe.
Stay safe. Lots of good wishes to everyone. Lovely to see you all.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Lovely to see you all.
Bye, Sarah.
Hello.
Bye.
Sarah. Bye.
Hi, Jeff. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, Manish. Hey.
Hi, Jeff.
Ali. Good to see you. Okay.
Hi, Ali.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye, Anu, Pranav, Mani. Good night.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, Inanda. Bye. Inanda, bye.
Yes. Ananda.
Bye. Anu, bye.
Bye, Madhesh.
Hi,
Yes,
Anu.
Sodapati, bye. Pranav, bye.
Bye, bye, bye.
See you soon. Bye, Pranav.
Bye, Ali. Nice seeing you.
Really good seeing you.
Bye, Professor Murthy. Good night.
Murthy
Night,
looking
bye-bye.
good. Take care. Bye.
Thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks,
Bye.
Anand. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye, Professor Murthy.
Bye, Ina.